Okay, let's see if we're sharing. Says I am.
Yeah.
Are we sharing?
Yeah,
you're good. Which, Sturt? I
Yeah.
think so. Or Czechoslovakian. Okay, station identification. And we'll get into what you asked about a little bit here. The rule is that you give your call sign at least every 10 minutes and at the beginning, well, and end of the communications. Except when you're controlling model aircraft, because it's a digital encoded thing and there's no call signs. I mean, you're basically bound to it's a point to point type thing. It's recommended to use English on the phone bands for US operators, to use the phonetic alphabet if there's anything confusing. Usually they recommend you use the phonetic alphabet for your call sign so people can copy it. It's easier to recognize it if it's noisy or not a good signal. The ID can be either CW, in other words, a Morse code of your call sign, or voice. And in some radios, you can have that programmed in where you you just press the button and it'll automatically play the voice or the Morse code for you. So when are you required to transmit your call sign?
Delta.
When may an amateur station transmit without identifying on the air?
Delta.
What language may you use for identification when operating in a phone subband?
Charlie's recommended. I don't know if you can't use others.
Well, yeah. It says may you use. It doesn't say you have to,
Right.
but the preferred is English. What method of call sign identification is required for a station transmitting phone signals? Remember, this is your call sign ID.
Slide said CW or phone, but I think I wouldn't go with Delta.
I'd go with Bravo.
Yeah.
So if I'm talking to you,
Uh-huh.
say this is my problem. I was gonna say this earlier. If I don't know CW and somebody keeps telling me their call sign, I'm like, I don't know who you are. You need to tell me in English. And he keeps telling me in CW. I'm gonna start talking to that guy.
Well, I don't think most people do that, but it's very common for repeaters to do their station ID in Morse
Is that
code.
what I hear all the time? And
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes it's words too, right? It's in English, so
Yeah.
repeater, blah blah blah.
Right.
For the beacon.
This is kind of a sinister thought, but would you have the ability to tap into somebody's electric vehicle while they're driving with this stuff?
You shouldn't.
I've heard of it happening. Sure.
I don't know if that's
In the amateur bands, I doubt that any of the commercial stuff would be susceptible there. I mean, could you do it technologically through radio? Probably.
The answer is
But-
yes, absolutely, but it ain't on these frequencies.
Heard of them doing it, they interfering television signals, radio signals, doing stuff.
Okay.
Mm.
What do the FCC rules state regarding the use of a phonetic alphabet for station ID in the amateur radio service? Encouraged. I think seems like all nets require check-in in the phonetics.
I like the way Steve says it. So please, we give the call sign to be some form. of
Yeah.
phonetic alphabet.
Because there's more than one.
And Byron's phonetic alphabet.
Well,
very
his
changes.
he makes his up on the spot.
You do that on the. Yeah, that's a great. Is that Wednesday nights?
Wednesday
I
night.
heard you last time, but I didn't know, I guess you were probably there, but I didn't know your call signs.
Yeah, what was it, nail or vegans eating pork?
Oh, no, this week it was noodles.
Oh, yeah, noodles or very.
Oh, I'm gonna listen to you. 7:15.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah,
Wednesdays?
we're very.
I'm gonna listen to you.
In some cases, you're allowed to use tactical call signs.
Chicken dinner.
Yeah, that's one he used in a tactical situation. An example would be like the 10-mile run that we support, where we have people at the watering stations talking to a control operator, which is race headquarters or race control, something like that. So you can use those kind of call signs as long as you give your real call sign every 10 minutes. So you can say race headquarters, this is Alpha 2, something saying whatever you've defined for that particular event. How often must you identify using your FCC assigned call sign when using tactical call signs such as race headquarters? Okay. There are things called call sign indicators that are self-assigned. These are the kind of things Byron would like. Where after your call sign, you can do a slash or a stroke, whatever you call it. Usually, I guess you could just have a space. And you could say W3RDL mobile or QRP. Do you ever use QRP at the end?
When you're doing QRP, you yell QRP at the end, because the other stage will hear you better.
Another use of it is when you upgrade from, say, technician to general. When you pass the exam and you get your CSCE, you can operate as a general as long as you give your call sign /AG, acting general, before you actually get the updated in the database, or a /E, AE, acting extra, for instance. Which of the following self-assigned indicators are acceptable when using a phone transmission? Okay. Third party. These are a little confusing. It's communications on behalf of someone who is not the station licensee or the control operator. So it's defined as a message from one control operator to another control operator on behalf of another person or a third party. So I can contact Byron and pass a message from Nelson. Now, gets down into the details. Can I let Nelson, according to the rules, talk, or do I have to relay the message?
You would have,
I think in practice, I've seen him
yeah,
talk, but when you read that definition, it's not clear whether it's because they're not necessarily a third party. if they're talking directly, even though you're in control. It's fuzzy.
It is fuzzy, but when you think about a go-to station, that's letting the third party talk directly through the radio.
What's the G for again?
Get on the air of GOTA, and that's most often done for special events like Boy Scout Jamboree on the air, field day, stuff like that.
Okay, if a foreign station, well, if you're trying to do third party and it's a foreign station, okay, it has to be a country that has a third party agreement. It's different than the other one where, as long as they don't say you can't talk to us. In this case, they actually have to have a third party agreement set up with your country. So what is the definition of third party communications?
Alpha.
Alpha.
Absolutely.
Which of the following restrictions apply when a non-licensed person is allowed to speak to a foreign station under the control of a licensed amateur operator?
My buddy knows that answer. Awful.
Yeah, how would you know? Where do you go for this information?
That's a good question. It's not on the test though.
It's on the, I get it, it's on the test. But, 6 months from now, I'm doing something. And they tell me, you were supposed to know, I'm like, yeah, you told me that I'm supposed to know this, but you didn't tell me where I'm supposed to find the list.
And I guess the question is when who do they register with? The ITU or the FCC? Wouldn't think it'd be another country doing it with the FCC. I don't know.
They should still have that list.
They're gonna be threatening speaking to other countries anyways, but,
Yeah.
if I wanted to, I'd probably stick.
Yes.
Probably stick to the friendly country.
I just decided to look up the question you talked about earlier
Okay.
about which country to restrict communications from amateur radio enthusiasts. And according to the Google machine, Yemen and North Korea are off limits.
Oh, okay.
Why Yemen?
Yeah.
They're like not threatening at all.
Well,
I mean,
they made somebody mad. Or they don't, well, actually, they don't want to talk. So I
Or
don't,
maybe they don't want, it could be isolating their own people, not isolating us.
okay. When can the FCC inspector come around and inspect your station? Anytime it wants. Now, I guess they're supposed to request. I don't think they come and knock on the door without telling you they're coming.
Because I wouldn't trust them. They're knocking on my door and say, "Where the FCC?" I'm like, no, you're not. I'm not gonna believe you.
But as a minimum, you need to have your station license, your operator license, usually the same thing.
Log on the wall.
No, and your exposure calculations or measurements.
That's what I meant, the log of calculations.
Your log of contacts isn't required.
There's people who run around doing this for you.
No, but it's
Sounds like a
it
business
probably
opportunity.
happened a lot more in the past when there was a lot more FCC offices and people. But I think there's like 3 around the country or something like that. It's very unlikely that they have people and time to do this kind of stuff unless there's some violation where somebody's, really interfering with other people, particularly if they're interfering with the commercial stuff.
FCC does keep a website on their, I found it. Everything that they have ruled on, enforcement stuff,
Right.
is pretty deep.
Okay.
list of stuff that they've done.
When must the station and its records be available for FCC inspection?
Bravo.
I'd go with Bravo.
That's what it said.
Do they have specific ID, a badge or something that they flash?
I have no idea. I've never met an FCC person.
I wouldn't believe that. They had it like, yeah, well, I've never seen one. I don't know what that is. That could be fake. You
Unless
come to your
you've-
house and say, I'm the FCC. Now what?
Unless you've done something really bad, I wouldn't worry about
No,
it.
I wouldn't, but it's just for curiosity, because of kind of how vague this is, what you're saying, they don't have a lot of, they don't have a lot
Well, I
of.
guess they have some kind of badge being a government employee with the FCC.
Call the FCC and double check. Did you just send somebody out?
The other thing is what if you don't even have a station? Like if I got licensed tomorrow, I didn't buy anything. There's nothing to inspect.
True.
I didn't buy anything.
But if you got a
I
handy
license.
talkie, that's your station.
They made the trip for nothing.
Check this outside. You're not coming in my house.
Okay, so
Oh, 506.
you need to uh, send your call sign at least every 10 minutes and at the end. Can be in CW or English if you're doing it on phone band. Encourage the phonetic alphabet. One of them. Trying to think what they call the one we're supposed to use. Is it NATO? Okay. But there's kind of a military one that's slightly different. The other countries I've noticed use totally different things. Like in Europe, you'll hear like names of cities as opposed to what we use.
See if we use small term.
The only time you don't have to do a call sign is when you're controlling a model aircraft. You can use tactical call signs. You still have to give your real call sign every 10 minutes and at the end. You can append a call sign indicator to your call sign to represent things like your operating QRP, your mobile, you're an acting general, you're an acting extra, or in some cases, I think I've seen them do it where like the /3 is you're in zone 4, but you're actually operating in zone 3, something like that. Third party is sending a message on behalf of another person between two stations. Foreign countries have to allow third party communications. We don't know how you find out who that is. And the FCC can inspect your records anytime on request.
ARRL has a published list of third party.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that answers that question. Okay. Any questions?
The end. First time I saw that slide.